I'm calling the meeting. Yes, recording in progress. Meeting is called to order at 6:32. Starting with approval of minutes from September. Do I have a motion?
I'll make one. It's Joanne.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion, any changes? Okay, all in favor of, I just lost the word. Approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Reports, Joey, you got the budget report?
We have $19,943.20 available budget.
Okay, nothing out of the ordinary on that guy. Did you got the invoice for the Business of the Year award,
Yeah.
right?
I just filled out the paperwork. I've got to drop it back off at the town hall for the plaque.
Yep.
Yeah, I just hoping that I can get to the town hall the next day or two to drop it off.
A
Okay.
point of order, Mr. Chairman. Heather is looking, who was the second on the approval of the minutes?
I sent
Brian
it.
was.
I just
Oh,
sent it. to
I'm
her.
sorry, Lafredo was.
Yeah, I sent it to her.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, guys, sorry I'm a little late.
Charlie will be joining in approximately 10 minutes.
Okay, well, no, as far as chairman report, most of what I have to say has to do with Community Day, the train wreck park dedication, which they have their own agenda, place in the agenda. There's a couple things that I am working on. One is a mentoring project with the high school. Working with Mike Joyce, hoping to get some of our TBA businesses involved, mentoring the kids, get some more businesses going in town, give the kids more alternatives when they graduate, all that kind of good stuff. I haven't started, we just had a quick talk and we're kicking it off in November. I'll update more next month. One more thing is talking about a possible cruising activity in town next summer, maybe once a month. We could, try to attract more people from out of town, come to the town, have food set up, get a DJ at the gazebo, that kind of thing. Maybe collect some money for charities, could be for Turkey Trot, it could be for fire department, it could be for a fund for local businesses, could be anything.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy, Brian, not to interrupt you. So my parents are like huge into the antique Brimfield scene.
Oh, yeah.
So I was over there, and being the slim guy that I am, was, visiting the food trucks and talking to people and having food truck meals. Anyway, I think if you're thinking along those lines of like having like a drive or something, maybe we can start with like a few food trucks and have them go down and at the park there. Just try something out with food trucks.
Well, just so you know, we are planning something with food trucks next year, Brian. The TBA is.
Yeah, I think okay, that would be great. I think if we tag team with you guys, and I took a bunch of cards, and I don't mind making calls and seeing what they have to say, because it seems like they draw a big crowd.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, Putnam just had a good one. There've been a couple around, and like I said, that's on the TBA radar right now.
Yeah. Okay, great.
To do something like that next year. This
Okay.
cruising is different. It would be just cars, and again, to attract some people from Putnam, Dudley, Webster, give them something to come into town for.
I think we could time it right. So you could do like a little cruise, and then at 6 o'clock, these guys are set up, and we all pull in with our cars with flames coming out, right? And then go park, right? So
No, that's after you eat the food. You have the
oh,
flames.
that's after we eat the food. Okay. Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking different flames, but I'll go along with that flame too. I just think
Need
it'd
two
be-
more drivers for my cars though.
Yeah.
Well, I've been
Poor
talking to
Brian.
Renee also about having a motorcycle event or cruise like Killingly does, and Tom Angelo was possibly interested in helping organize that. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be cars every month, maybe we switch it up and do different types of vehicles. Maybe we could have a theme, a truck day, a sports car day, a motorcycle day.
You guys are singing my song. Before she left, Leslie and Renee and I were working on an agreement for use of the park for outside organizers. I would say TBA doesn't really count as an outside organizer per se, but this was exactly the kind of thing that we were looking to grow. So all for it. Yeah, whatever you need. Right?
Okay.
We'll make it happen. And I still have that draft. And that goes sort of to Santos' point about the food trucks, but also, last year we had talked, or early this year, I guess, late winter, early spring of this year, I had talked to my buddy from Antiques Roadshow,
Yeah.
who has done lots and lots of those tent vendor kinds of shows. I mean, he exhibits at Brimfield every year. He organizes Comic-Cons. So I think that there is potential there. We just have to identify, all the who, what, where, why, and hows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we start off small and try to figure this out, right? I think there's a strategy to this, and we should talk about that further. And it sounds like TBA is already well on its way with something, so that's good.
I would think maybe we just want to fill the months that we aren't using. We already have Fairy Fest, Community Day, and Makers Fair. So let's go with the other 3 months and maybe do a different theme.
Well, no, not necessarily the months, Bry. Talking about a car cruise, it would be using different days because it would be like a Monday night.
Yeah.
So
We've also got to not conflict with all the tri-state cruiser events and stuff. As you know, just from
that's why it
Community
wouldn't be
Day,
a Saturday.
there's a lot of conflicting dates out there.
And as you guys know, it is my mission to drive people to that park as a way of, first of all, getting that park used so that there is momentum to keep it maintained. And also to have those micro entrepreneurial opportunities, which for us have been various kinds of tent vendors, right? Because that's the easiest thing, but food trucks obviously are the same thing. And eventually that 11th Village, which of course, when you go back to talk to Mike Joyce in November, loop me in so that we can make all of those efforts perhaps come together.
Okay. Yeah, I talked to him briefly at Community Day about those, just the fact that, there's going to be some action there, but nothing specific. So yes, I'll let you know.
Is there a place where there's a list of the current events like for next year? Because that's one of the first thing I want to do is pick a date for the food truck festival. So you just started talking about all the conflicts, and before I was thinking I was just going to pick a date and go with it, but apparently I should put some more.
Dan, this is Brian Levenson. I'm the new rec director. So we have a tentative list of dates scheduled out all the way through 2022.
Okay.
I don't have it with me, but I don't know if it's helpful. I can send it to Brian Yacino or someone to share it with everyone if you're looking to plan dates that far in advance.
Yeah, I can bring it to the next meeting, the next TBA meeting.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah,
Thank
Brian, is that Brian
Levency.
Levency? I was just looking for your last name. There's too many Brians on the call. I wanted to call you out appropriately. Is that on the calendar online? I'm looking for it right now.
No, there's nothing on the calendar. This is we made a tentative list like a couple days ago, so this hasn't been approved or anything. But yeah,
I know Renee. I believe Renee on our updated EDC page that she just updated for us. I think it links from our EDC page to this community calendar page.
Okay.
I believe it does. So I think all the pieces.
It's certainly intended to.
Yeah, okay.
We're kind of jumping around agenda items right now. We're talking about pieces of all of them.
Yeah, that's good.
Given that, Yacino, did you have anything else that you wanted under your chairman's report?
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry,
no,
guys.
I was just gonna go on to update on businesses and then give Connie a chance to.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to be mindful of Connie, that's all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's okay. As far as updates on businesses, you got the sheet for Sutter Specialists LLC. That was the only one in our box. I did, Piccolo Pomodoro was hoping to open at the beginning of the month, then it was the 15th of the month. They're not open yet. They did ask about streets, directional signs, which Joanne is getting a verification on the price, and then I can get a check from them. So Piccolo Pomodoro should be coming soon in the old Monte Bianco space. And yeah, I did talk to Jill St. Cyr this past week about her various businesses and her soon to be open shop across from St. Joseph's. Probably more on that next month.
She was in Cindy's office today, so
Yeah.
she's going through whatever processes it is she needs to get her permits and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, and if nobody else, anybody else have anything on business updates before we go on to Connie? Okay, Connie. Hi, would you like to introduce yourself?
I always forget to unmute, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
So my name is Connie Sipos. I am the youth program coordinator for East Con in the Northeast corner. So we get our money from federal and state grants, and what we run is a youth employment program for kids all the way from Woodstock all the way up through Mansfield, Connecticut. So I concentrate primarily from Plainfield all the way down to Thompson, Woodstock, and that's my area. So I work with a lot of the schools, and what we try to do is teach work readiness skills to high school students from the ages of 14 to 21. So during the summer this year, we had kids working in the recreation department. They helped with the summer camp. We also had some in the food service department, and we had some working in the IT department at the school. And when I say work, they go through the whole process where they interview with us. We put them in positions that they show interest in. They also interview with the person that's going to be hiring them. And then we pay them minimum wage, and based off of what that grant is, it's usually 80 to 100 hours that these students get. We cover workman's compensation, and we also do all the payroll. So none of that falls on Thompson's hands. We take care of all of it. And basically all we ask from you is to provide work sites and sign a work site agreement that says, okay, you agree to adhere to your part, which is basically taking somebody under your wing and showing them, putting them in a work situation which would be valuable to them in the long run. So like I said, lots of times we work with the recreation department. So this year, we weren't, because of COVID, everything was up in the air. We weren't sure if the kids were going to be allowed to work. We got the word late. So we were able to get some kids in Thompson, and we probably had, I don't know, I want to say 50 kids from the town of Thompson apply for this program, but we were only able to maybe employ 10 of them because of lack of work sites. So the reason I'm calling is to see if I can get you people involved with, like, I'm listening to all the great things that you're doing in your town. And to do that, you usually look for volunteers to help assist in that. Well, what I want to do is provide you with those volunteers, and I would prefer to do it like some of my ideas. You have the recreation programs, basketball. like, I would love to put a kid, 1 or 2 kids in that would help with that program, you know, and they would get paid, and nobody has to know they're getting paid other than the recreation department and myself and the student that's actually doing. So if other kids are doing it and volunteer, they don't need to know that, right? Because we do that all the time. I don't know if you have senior recreation. I saw you have some stuff with crafts, but I think that's during the day. So that wouldn't work during the school year. I don't know if you have a recycling shop. If you need like kids to go in there and clean it up and maintenance, we could provide things there. A real big thing, especially in the spring, is cleaning up your trails and ballparks. So they could all, I could get you a couple of kids to volunteer and do that. The only problem with that is they would have to have one of your staff that's actually in there doing it the same time. And so they would have to be supervised that way. Just because just because.
Hey, Connie, on that point, in
Yep.
particular,
Mhm.
now, when you say they have to have a supervisor, does it have to be municipal staff? Can it be, for example, the folks on this commission are volunteers?
Absolutely
on
could be the
behalf-
folks on this commission. It does
Okay,
not
so
have
it
to
doesn't
be.
have to be municipal staff. Okay,
No,
because we
not at all.
we have big needs for trail maintenance.
Yeah,
And a volunteer group does that trail maintenance, catch as catch can. That could be very, very important if we could work something out there.
yeah. Well, so where we're lucky now, Tyra, is this used to be just a summer program. And as of 2021, it was turned into a year-round program. Well, we have the majority of our kids working in the summer, and that's the way it's going to stay. We do have kids that are available year-round now. And that's kind of why I'm calling, because I have 2 right now that I would love to place somewhere. I don't know if you have an after-school program that we could place them.
We do.
So I would love,
I-
yeah, and I don't know if they need help there. I hope they do.
We do.
Oh, good.
Connie, so this is Brian Levency again. So Tira connected us today.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna have to really talk with you tomorrow, but
I would love that.
yeah, so we have a lot of placements that we can put these kids, and I'm
Okay.
really excited about it.
Then that's good.
I'm hoping you can provide more than 2 kids, to be honest.
Yeah, can I also make a suggestion in here?
Sure.
So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us tonight, Connie.
No problem.
I have my son is president of the freshman class. Okay, he is in a leadership program.
Yeah,
I believe that there's other. He just had his first meeting last week, or
Mhm.
actually, yeah, last week, and it's with the seniors and everybody, the leadership people. I think it would be a great opportunity here for you to come in, speak with them, and involve Brian from the rec department, and just spread the word about this, because I feel like if they knew about that, that would be a great thing as president of the freshman class and other classes to be able to say, hey, yeah, let's support the rec program. Let's support Connie. You know, and I think it just brings general leadership to everything, and maybe it'll expand people's minds about what the possibilities are here. Right. So
I would love that, but you know what? As you're saying this, there is one thing that a pretty major thing that I did forget to tell you.
Yeah.
Because these are grants, there's income eligibility requirements.
Yep.
So if a child receives free or reduced lunch, if the family is on SNAP or Husky,
Yeah. They're ineligible.
that's what makes them eligible for my program. But
That's
what
what makes
also makes them eligible is if they have an IEP.
Okay.
There's a lot of factors that make them eligible, but
Yeah.
so unfortunately, I wish I could take every single kid, but unfortunately I can't.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just
So
trying
let
to
me
expand.
ask you another question, Connie, similar to the one I just asked. So we're talking about municipal employment opportunities here, but we've got representatives here from the Thompson Business Association,
Yeah.
which is not a municipal organization, but are they eligible to tap into these student employees as well?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you told me that. I didn't realize, because I've tried to contact the Thompson Business Association. It used to be Charlene. I don't know if Charlene's still, but I just never got
The new
a
president
call
is here
back.
tonight, Connie.
Huh?
Look up Dan Bennett.
Dan Bennett?
He's on the screen there. He's the new president.
Hi, Connie.
Oh, hi, Dan. How are you?
Good, good. I just took over as the new president of the Thompson Business Association.
Yeah, so I had sent Charlene a few emails, but I didn't know if she was moving or whatever it was. But she actually she actually used some of my kids in her restaurant. So if
Oh,
I have
okay.
a kid that is interested in culinary, that's where I try to put them. And what I say to them is, you're not going to be the chef, you're going to be the dishwasher. That's how it works.
Right.
You're going to
right.
be the guy busting the tables. But that's what we're trying to show them. Are you sure you're interested in this field? Here, try this and then get back to me. That's
Awesome.
what this program's all about. It's work readiness.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'll send you my email address. If you want to email me, then
I would
we'll,
love to.
Okay, awesome. I'll put it in the chat right now.
Okay. Well, this is worth my while. Because it's
Can we
just,
move-
you never know who to talk to. And I've been doing this for 7 years.
Can we use help with turkey trot, guys?
Well, that's the other thing. So I was listening to all your programs, and this year I actually touched base with Killingly. You know how it was funny that you're talking about the food trucks, because they had the food trucks and all that stuff going on this year. And I actually had some kids volunteer to work those food truck events, the tomato festival, stuff like that. So they may not be involved every day or every week, but if we had a schedule and if we can get a group of kids that would want to do special events, that's what I would hire them for, a special events crew. You know what I mean? So that's something else. And Brian, that's something else that you and I could talk about, because that may be worth your while.
Absolutely. We could use help there in that area for sure.
You know, and then that way I could hire more kids, you know, and they're not committed to every day or every week, because a lot of
Yep.
kids don't want to make that commitment.
That absolutely would have a use for that.
Okay.
I love a good connection.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so you sent me okay. So do you have any other questions? I've never sent you an email, Dan. I know I did.
Oh, me? No, I don't think so. I don't know how you would have, I mean, I
Well,
just,
because you know why I know it? Because I went on the Thompson Business Association and I emailed a whole bunch of people that were on that. And I remember DBC Solutions, but that's not your email. I think that's your website. Is that what you want me to go on?
yeah, no,
Okay.
you're right. I don't know why I did that.
So I think basically I covered everything. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, I think most of it will be covered when you connect with Brian Levency
Okay,
with Thompson Rec stuff, which also includes turkey trot and
Correct.
a lot of the stuff that's going on.
okay. This sounds great. And then Brian, so when the summer starts and you have those summer camps, we could get started earlier versus later.
Absolutely.
Because
We can
we're always
get
late.
started
You usually
tomorrow.
have, okay, we usually have your staff by the time I come on board, so it's too
Okay.
late. But, okay, well, Tyra, thank you so much.
No, thank you for making yourself available. I'm glad that it came through in time to get the link to you and invite you in.
Yeah, me too. Unfortunately, and I'm gonna have to watch the Red Sox lose. I'm so depressed right now. All right, guys, have a great meeting.
Good night,
Thank you,
Connie.
Connie.
Bye.
Okay, we're up to citizens' comments. I'd like to check in with, I see, oh, Isabel is on. If we could hear from you. Isabel?
Charlene wanted to talk under citizens' comments as well, she mentioned.
Yep, well, yeah, I just said. No, Isabel is not hearing me?
She's on mute. I don't know if she. You're
Yeah.
on mute, Isabel, if you are trying to communicate with us.
All right, well, while Isabel is there, let's hear from Charlene.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Charlene.
I
just
sure
want-
am.
Just want to take a second and thank you for whoever played a part in for naming Pump Connection Business of the Year. Sorry that we weren't here to get it. It was kind of a surprise, but I just wanted you to know that the feelings that came with the award won't be forgotten. And then the little side note, I just wanted to let you know that I love the sign down at the town hall. And I think it's a nice addition to all the new things that'll be coming into the town of Thompson. So thank you for believing in my vision. And at least I got to see one thing follow through and hopefully see a lot more.
The very sparkly sign you have down there, Charlene. It's very
Yeah.
nice.
That will be the Charlene sign forever. We
Yeah,
will always call it that.
Yeah,
We
yeah, well,
will.
especially in Thompson. You know, I still live in the Shawalik house, and they've been gone for 30 years.
right,
But
right. Well, thank you
but
very much. Yeah.
thank you, Charlene, for getting Ryan to come and accept the award too. That was nice.
Yeah. Sorry that I know. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was in Georgia, so I was like, I'm kind of stuck.
I did give you saw the copy of the speech, so you'd know.
I saved that and I have the plaque and I will hang that up.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thanks, Charlene. So Tara, what happened with Isabel?
She says her mic's not working.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll have to move on. Old business, EDC membership and alternates. I don't have any new candidates for alternates. I don't know if anyone else does. And I have two questions.
I have a suggestion that we approach. I haven't yet. I just thought of it, but Joe Iamartino is a business person, and he's also been working with us on several of our projects. So he's already shown an interest in it. But I never thought to ask him until just the other day, and I haven't seen him since.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think just because he's so busy, it'd be nice to get someone else involved. Right.
Well,
Because
as an alternate, he could certainly
yeah,
continue to follow through with the things he's interested in as well.
well, yeah, if you think to ask him, Charlie.
I will.
that's fine.
I'll send him an email. It just occurred to me to share it now.
Okay, I have two questions. One is, Dan, do you have your town email?
No,
Okay, does that come from Marie?
You can request it through Marie probably still. We obviously have different IT people now. Just a caveat about the town emails. When we switched over from Chris Nelson's company to the school IT, they went through and did an assessment of, all the email addresses that had been created and who was using them and not using them. Almost nobody was using them who had one created. And they actually cost the town money. So we deactivated a whole bunch of them, and you'd have to ask Marie how many. But I know, for example, when I had one, obviously not my work email, my planner, but when I was a volunteer, I never successfully received a single email through it. So that's why a lot of people chose not to use them. You certainly are eligible to have one, Dan, if you want one, but I would say almost everybody uses their own personal email. I would say the town emails are much more important for policy setting boards. The ones that are elected boards that actually make, big sweeping townwide decisions, because those are the people who are more eligible to be harassed. I don't think that there's a big risk for that in EDC.
I'm
No,
good.
well-
I don't need another email address unless.
Well, let me say, originally when we all got emails way back, like when Brian Santos and I pretty much started on EDC, we didn't even know we had them.
Yeah.
Right, for a very long time, so
Yeah, just
I'm sure
it
those
was
get
like this thing in
deleted.
the background, and then one day somebody said, "Hey, you have an email address." We're like, "We do."
Yeah, it was that bear guy who said, hey, you guys all have emails, don't you know that?
I use that. I funnel everything that I think is like official kind of
Right,
through that, and I'll copy that one. And I have to go over to it every once in a while and delete the extra ones. But there's a trigger. You can set it up. You say, if it comes here, send it here.
yeah, mine
And,
comes to my AOL email. The thing about that, the reason we would want to use it, if anything could come up under the Freedom of Information Act, if they had to follow up on anything, then they could go to Brian's WT Rich email
That
and-
is true. That
and
is
look at
true.
everything. So
Yeah.
that's a reason to use the Thompson email rather than your own.
And Marie called me up today, I believe, and said that in addition,
Yesterday.
with the school thing, they have additional operating systems available for those who need them. I declined that. I'm just going to use the email. It works.
Yeah, and I have my own, she was asking about Office 365. I have my own for the car clubs. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to ask about the email and Brian Santos, you still prefer the WT Rich email?
Yeah, I have too many email. Yeah, so. that's
Well, I
good.
agree. I have like 6 or 7.
Yeah,
I know what you're
somebody-
saying.
Somebody emailed me the other day asking me to delete the account. I actually think it was Amy, and I told her to delete the account. I don't use it.
Okay. I just wanted to follow up because I hadn't asked you in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's all I have for old business. Oh, meeting location, I assume we'll keep going Zoom until, it's unanimous to go otherwise. We've been talking about it month by month.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever it's worth, and I know that I've flogged this horse before, the Zoom meetings do enable, for example, Brian Levency to be here with us tonight, because
Yes.
Brian lives in Tolland. So if we're meeting in person, he's either got to stay or come back or not go to the meeting. Connie, who was in as a special guest, that's feasible because we're online.
Yeah.
So you guys know my feelings about this, that although I love you guys and love to hang out with you, that the actual benefit to doing business is higher on Zoom.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Next up, new business. We want to set the schedule for next year. I sent you, what?
We have to approve it, or can't we just
Well,
accept it?
Well, first, I sent it over to you. It includes the dates that the third Wednesday falls on.
Okay,
2 things. I want to make sure everybody's okay keeping the time at 6:30 on the third Wednesday, because we have an opportunity to change it. If the makeup of the board changes and it gets to be inconvenient or something, we shouldn't just take for granted that everybody's okay. That's all I'm saying. So
I'm
if you're
fine with
okay,
that. I'm fine with that. My only complication is sometimes there's special meetings with the building committee, and that starts at 6. But
Yeah.
I'll just deal with that. I'm just making it known. That's all. It doesn't.
yeah,
have to-
that's why we have alternates. Things turn up and we don't have to cancel meetings. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is I'd like to propose that we don't have a meeting next December because it's Wednesday, the 21st.
Yep, agreed.
It's late that month. It's Christmas week. I would rather, if everybody's in favor, we'll do an 11-month schedule.
a lot of times committees don't have meetings in July and in December, so I'm totally up for eliminating December 21st.
Okay, if we're all in agreement, I'll write this up and I'll get it over to Renee. So
Okay,
is there
fine.
anybody that thinks we should have a meeting in December?
Only if we could have
Next-
eggnog, and that is freedom of information, so we can't do it. So.
We can get together for eggnog anyway, Charlie. We don't have to, call it to order.
Okay, good.
All right, I'll get that over. I'll write this up and I'll get it over to Renee this week. Okay. On to the progress reports. And I did talk to Brian Levensey today because on the agenda I have Community Day wrap up. I figured he can update us on how well it went and the comments and all of that.
Can
And
you
then
hang
the
on
other-
1 second, Yacino? Joanne, you were trying to say something right before Brian went
Oh.
to the agenda item?
I didn't hear you, Joe, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Nobody ever hears me, I know. I wanted to ask if anybody wanted to change the time to 6 o'clock instead of 6:30.
Oh,
Does everybody like the 6:30 time? Because sometimes these meetings go on, and then it's after 8 o'clock, so would it be easier to start them at 6 instead of 6:30?
6 is harder for people who are working.
Well, right, who work out of towns, like you, Brian Santos, is it okay for you, or do you like it at 6:30?
I'm okay with it at 6. It's just be aware that sometimes the building committee starts at 6. So I would, if the building committee wrap it up in 30 minutes, which is sometimes the case, I can at least participate in the full EDC meeting. So I don't want to make it about me though. So I don't mind 6 o'clock, I guess is the answer.
And I also wouldn't mind, Joe, to address that, working to keep a better, more concise agenda would help keep us from running on into the 2-hour range,
Yeah.
which we're all tired. Nobody wants that. Tara's been at work all day.
Yes, exactly. And I've noticed we've gone way over the past few months, so if we started earlier, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. So if everybody else is in agreement, maybe we should consider changing it to 6 instead of 6:30.
That's fine with me.
I would have a problem with 6.
You would? Okay,
Yeah.
well, if you're the big guy, so never mind.
I mean, not that I couldn't make it if everybody was in agreement, Joe. But I think working from the other end to keep it from going long, because either way, if it goes long, we're still tired.
Mhm.
If that's your main concern, and
Yeah.
people want to keep it at 6:30, I'll work to keep the agenda tighter.
Okay.
Again, going back to the, online versus in person, whether we start 6, 6:30, 7, whatever, if I'm sitting in my house, I don't really care if it goes long until we're,
Mhm.
going really long. I mean, some of the planning and zoning meetings we have gone 3 and 4 hours, and where those have been online, thank God they were online instead of in person.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
you're right. There is a simplicity. I do like it rather to be at home, so I don't care. But if this is going to go back to going to the town hall again, leaving there at 8:30, or whatever, it's just a food for thought. But if we need to keep it at 6:30, that's fine.
Well, what is everybody, any other comments on that? Because we could change this further down the road too, if it came to it, if we went back to the town hall and it ran long.
Okay.
Um,
Or maybe we could have it in our minutes that we never go over 90 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, but no, but I'm okay with trying to set some type of a,
I think it's
a
fair
window
to-
around that.
I think it's fair to remember that over the last couple of months, though the meetings may have gone long, we had a pretty busy workload and a lot of things were accomplished. So
Yeah. We had a busy agenda.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
we'll keep.
other groups will take care of that by tightening the agenda. Don't take on too much at once. But yeah, it's in our minutes that we talked about it, and if everybody feels strongly that we want to change it, I'll go along. To suit the group. So do you want to leave it like it is for now, everybody, or?
I think for now, we'll revisit it when we start meeting in person.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
anytime anyone wants to bring it up, go ahead. I'll even put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Any time change like that, no problem.
I know I prefer
Okay.
6:30 just because it's consistent with branding being at 6:30. It drives me nuts. The trails is at 7 because I forget when these things start.
Well, you'll have
yeah.
to, and Brian. To keep a
We wouldn't want
calendar.
you to be confused, Lafredo.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, we don't even
Very
know which
easy, you
Brian
know
is
that.
going to the meetings. Anyway, let's give Brian Levensey some room here to talk about the Community Day wrap up.
Sure, thank you. So as far as vendors went at the Community Day, we had 72 total vendors, 45 of which were business vendors. That generated $1,515 in revenue just from the small booth rental fee that we charge. So with the increase in vendors that are at Community Day, I think the event's becoming profitable. So I think the event, from what I understand, it's added a few, attractions like the car show and the bands performing and the inflatable stuff for the kids and hay maze, all that stuff. So I think continuing to add things like that with some of this new profit from what it's generating, and really kind of giving people a reason to stick around for this full 4 hours. Really kind of increase traffic throughout the day and keep the vendors happy. So I think the general feedback we received pretty positive with the layout. I think people really liked having the vendors in that promenade area, walking through and being able to shop there, and then seeing all the community groups, nonprofits, and in the outfield of the softball field. I think it actually worked out really well. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. I think one criticism, which I think we'll definitely take into account next year, is we kind of just started the event right at noon and started the ceremonies right at noon. And I think a lot of people who attended didn't realize what was going on. They missed the national anthems and the presentation of the awards. So next year, I think we'll be starting the event either hour earlier, still keeping this opening ceremonies at noon, and just kind of encouraging people to get over there at noon to check out the ceremonies.
Sounds good. Yeah, I saw that in the notes too. Does anybody have any more comments or words about Community Day?
I was just gonna say, what do you guys think about it being longer? Why is it only 4 hours?
Yeah, I think that was part of one of the criticisms, and I think it's totally valid. Like, there's really no reason why it can't start earlier. So I think the vendors, most of them were set up, bright and early. So I think starting it at 11, giving it an extra hour, I don't think it'll be a problem next year. I think it'll do well for everyone. Kind of get people in there earlier, allow them to check out the ceremonies and shop a little longer. So
Yeah, spend more money.
yeah.
I noticed that by 2:30, 3 o'clock, the crowd was already thinning out pretty much. So, we
That's
have
true.
to have something for them to do.
Exactly. So
to hold on to them.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Think-
add your time on the back end.
Right.
As a person who has done many, many, many tent vendor events in my life, I can tell you that the last hour, no matter when it is always the slowest hour. So
Yeah.
that last hour is always going to be a drag for the people who have hauled their stuff there 2 hours before the thing begins, blah, 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 blah. At the front of the day, if you're adding your time on the front of the day, that's a better option. I wouldn't go too early because you're not going to get any foot traffic probably before 11. But to add an extra hour, I think that's totally game. A 5-hour event allows you to stretch out and, add more music, as you said, organize the sort of civic events differently if you need to. It just gives you more flexibility. It's not as compressed. So yeah, I think a 5-hour event is totally cool. The people you really need to run that by, however, are the Thompson Together folks, because that is really their event with the town. They kind of own it. So and they are a very small volunteer group.
Yeah, it's just that, like, everybody's pretty much there anyway. The vendors are already set up. The volunteers are already there, so it really wouldn't add anything to their day.
And I think also the fact is that the vendors are setting their own stuff up. And we've got
Yes.
everything else set up the day before. So Thompson Together doesn't need a large roster of volunteers on that day to start it earlier.
Yeah, any volunteers are already there. So we just open the gate earlier. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Like Tara said, I wouldn't add to the end of it. That wouldn't fly at all. Okay, well, if we're all set, we can move on. I wanted to give just a quick mention of the Trainwreck Park dedication that we had at the beginning of the month. That went really well. We figured between 80 and 100 people there. The speakers were good. The signs were a hit. Got a lot of good feedback on that also.
Yeah, I was really glad that I made it out for that. I had really no idea what you guys were doing up there yet, and that's awesome. I love it.
Well, by Thursday of next week, I'm going to have the grant application in to develop the rest of the park. So big fingers crossed on that. It's going to be a big ask. I'm going to be asking for somewhere around $680,000 from the state to do those other phases. I feel pretty confident that they will give us money. How much of that money? I don't know. The program theoretically only requires a 20% or 25%, 20% match, 20% match. So theoretically, they could match us 4 to 1. They have matched projects at that level before, or in that dollar range before. And the state is certainly aware that the application is coming. It's just a matter of justifying all those budget items and getting all the facts in. But it's going to be a fantastic project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Tara, is there any resource federally, since the National Park Service was involved? I always figured that was maybe an end to some federal funding for it.
Yeah, there probably is, Brian, but not right at this second that I am aware of. And again, it's all about matching funds, right? So one of the reasons we haven't written any grants for it for the large phases previously is because we didn't have a pool of funds that we could match at that level. Because we have the ARPA money and because the Board of Selectmen agreed to put $155,000 aside, as I suggested, to leverage into this grant, we have that opportunity. There could be 1,000 federal grants, but if I don't have a pool of money to put into matching what we're asking for, there may as well be none. So this isn't a strike while the iron is hot kind of thing. It doesn't mean there won't be another one at another point. And sometimes you can sort of jerry rig matching funds through in kind, but you can only do that so far, right? It's hard to get more than like $20,000, for example, in kind match, because that's, counting people's time as volunteers and a portion of my salary when I estimate the number of hours I put into a project during my week. And it's a little squirrely.
In my experience and with rail trails projects, okay, it's only since '92. But the federal money tends to be Department of Transportation money or some very unique and strange little pockets that they can set aside and earmark money. And a lot of it doesn't even get spent because nobody knows to ask for it.
Yeah, those programs are out there too. It's often the same thing though. It's, what's the match requirement? Everything changed as soon as the ARPA awards were announced. All of a sudden, the number and type of grants that I had the opportunity to look at to get some of this stuff done just exploded. This is not going to last forever. At some point, we're going to go back to what we had, which is, it's a small town with a mostly residential property tax base. The funding isn't there. I mean, I have discussed, we discussed at some meeting recently. Oh, at the MISRAC meeting last week. Just sort of spitballing the idea of how to create pockets of money that can be leveraged into grant funds. And one of the things I suggested was actually this commission's budget, because it's one of the few commissions that has a budget for projects that aren't necessarily defined at the beginning of a fiscal year. And we know what the statutory recommendations are for the maximum funding for an EDC, 1/20th of 1% of the grand list. It's very easily quantifiable, so we could, split that into, as we're making our budget requests in the next season, here's what we want to do ourselves, directly funding, and here are types of grants we'd like to pursue. I would say that while I didn't have a conclusive yes or no from Amy on that, she certainly seemed interested in the idea. Of course, the election's coming up. We don't know who is actually going to be first selectman on the 3rd of November. It's going to be one of two people. Either of those people, I believe, would be amenable to considering it, but that's got to pass through Board of Finance. The other challenge is if it goes into an EDC budget and it's not expended by the end of the year, it rolls back into the general. So you can only isolate those funds for one fiscal year, unless there's some other mechanism that I don't know about. So, but anyway, to your point, Charlie, that was my long-winded way of getting to the same thing I said to Lafredo. Yeah, the grants exist, but you still need something to match them with, no matter what the funding agency is. In most cases, there are some zero match requirement grants out there as well. They tend to come from private foundations, and they tend to be highly, highly competitive. So it's always, but I'm always looking. I'm always looking.
Okay, yeah, I want to move on. Next up is Sullivan and Lashane progress, and that would be Renee to report on that more than anyone, and she's away, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if that was directed to Tira, but have you guys seen the update on the website? So Renee's been taking information. Has everyone seen it? Because I'll share my screen and show you what's going on. Dan, have you seen it? You're shaking your head no?
I looked at it, but I didn't dial down into it.
Yeah, let's look at it together. I think it's worth. And then I have some ideas moving forward here. Hold on one second. Where the hell is my thing here? Okay, so on the main page here, Thompson ct.org, there's this button here, right? Find your way. And this is what Renee has been updating, all these buttons over here. So let's just explore the buttons. So it just says, find your way. Welcome to our, we're close neighborhood, blah, 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 blah. I actually think there should be a little bit more to this welcoming page. And I don't want it to be overwhelming, but I have some thoughts on it where I actually think, I know I wrote that letter about the building, planning and zoning about what we're doing. I still have an idea that I think we need to expand on, and I will talk about that in a second. But so Renee updated all these buttons over here, and it says, hey, come explore us, right? So it talks about Thompson Trails. It links to the Trails Committee, swimming, airline trail, Last Green Valley, and our recreational spots, right? And then if you want to go outside and play, it talks about trails, lakes and ponds, parks and playgrounds, T-Rex, the lake disc golf course, the Raceway golf course. I think is great. It's clear. It's straight to the point. That's exactly what we're looking for. If you want to eat, here's the restaurants, and all of these link to those pages. You want to build a life. It talks about that a little bit here. There's more places to worship, the library, and then Google Maps and talks a little bit about our general location, right? Which is great. This is, like I said, it's very straight to the point. And it gives a little snapshot of everything that you can do in Thompson. Big press on recreation, which I think is fantastic. But I think there should be a little bit more of a welcoming page that's developed by us. Because ultimately, I was going to bring this up when you talked about new businesses in town, Brian, but I wanted to get on to Connie's stuff. I think I mentioned last time that I feel like there should be a strategy where we invite, I wrote down these names, Anya, who I did speak with because I went out to dinner there. I spoke with them about coming to our meeting. They're very willing. Ken is very willing to come down and help us. I spoke with Dan at Milltown Grill. I did not speak with John Sharp, but I listed John Sharp's Thompson service. And I want to say the Thompson Liquor Store. I don't know if that's the name, and I can't remember the gentleman's name that owns that place. But let's just say I would like those 4 people to come down and speak with us. And before they come down, I'm actually going to email you guys a list of questions. And that list of questions is going to be sent to those 4 town representatives before they come down, because I want them to know why they're coming, right? And I feel like there's got to be some sort of marketing strategy that we can work well together. God damn it, I know that Anya has a marketing strategy, okay? Like, how do they get their information out? Can we work in partnership with them to get this webpage out to more people, right? And just have attraction to our town and make people educated about what we have to offer, right? So I feel like that's one of the several goals that we should have by having them down, right? And it starts with the simple question: what would you like to see happen in this town? How can we work together with you to bring information to people, and then also let people know what we're doing? Like, I think we should take more pride in telling people, yeah, we're trying to replace our sidewalks. We're trying to bring a fresh renovation to our town, right? Tell people about the solar project that we have in the works. Tell people about replacing the tractor. Let people know that we care and that our group means business about it. And there's got to be a strategy, and we have to have a commitment towards that strategy. And that's what I like to do. And that's what I have in my head about us getting this information out there to people. So I'll shut up now, but that's kind of it in short.
Who does the writing for all this stuff?
Well, in the case of the specific stuff on the Find Your Way page and the website, that was fundamentally Sullivan and Lashane's contribution, but they created it for us to flesh out for sure.
Okay.
They were giving us an outline, a map to follow that we worked on with them, so that as we developed this content ourselves, we could plug and go. Leave and see, to Santos's point, first of all, let me say that you have a fantastic assistant now. One of the things that I was doing with more regularity for a while, and it's become not as feasible for me to do regularly as opposed to episodically, is to send out press releases on the initiatives. So because my time is so compressed, what it has become is we have a discrete event, or a discrete grant award comes in, or a particular presentation is coming up, and I will send out a press release on that to my list.
Sure.
We had talked about, and for a little while I was able to do, just sending out something every week, like figuring out what that thing is that we're going to talk about this week. And it doesn't necessarily have to be tied to a special event. Again, use the example that Santos just raised of the sidewalks. Maybe finding out what the update is on that. In some ways, that's a terrible example because the update right now is, well, we're waiting. But there are always things, right? What is the progress on this project? And if you send that stuff to Winnie and the Villager, they're not editing it. They are printing anything I send as a municipal staff person with no alterations, right? They don't really have, I mean, they have a couple of staff writers at Villager. Winnie obviously has their roaming reporters, but in order for them to generate their content, they need people to feed it to them. Again, me being long-winded, leave and see, but the point is, do you think Amanda would be interested in taking on some of that? My impression of her is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. She's 100%. She's looking for things to do. So I would trust her with that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely my impression, but obviously she's not my staffer, so I can't commit her to that. So on the long list of things I say, hey, think about this, let's do this. Add that to your long list from Tara.
Well, I had even suggested that to Leave and See regarding the turkey trot getting some more pre-race promotion. When I saw Tackle the Trail had a very extensive article just talking about having a kids event for the first time. And obviously they're looking for content for the paper. And if someone is a better writer than I that can submit that content, in addition to the great job Tara has done, that would be awesome.
That's correct, Brian. The one caveat that I would add is that whatever we put on the webpage or whatever we send out to the public, everybody loves a winning story. What's that old thing, success has 1,000 fathers and failure is an orphan. So let's, yeah, we can tell them that this is an initiative, but it's far better to say, hey, we got this grant, or hey, we got this done. Hey, the ribbon was cut. Those are the things that easily can fit on those pages. And that site that you showed, we're looking at it, and on the right-hand side of the screen, it's changing the picture. And that's only just like a narrow percentage of the page that was available. Tara said, they just gave us a template. So now we know we can do it. Let's fill it up. Let's give it content.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just trying to fill in some blanks here because I don't want to say that nothing is getting accomplished, but we have big things in the works. And I think that is interesting to people because it just shows support of the town, right? That we're trying to do these things. So people get behind it. It's kind of like the solar project, right? So I spoke at length the other night in the building committee about the solar project, and I'm not going to name names, but a particular gentleman joined the meeting for the first time. And the very next day wrote this very long email challenging a lot of things that we were doing. And I took offense. Because he joined one meeting, and for the 3 years that I've been working on the solar project and then bash it. I'm sorry. I told that gentleman on the phone, I called him. I got approval from Amy. I called the gentleman and I said, I took offense to your email. Okay. And I explained why. But to get to my point, I said to that person in email form back, we're looking for your support, and these are the reasons why. So get behind it, okay? Don't just challenge it and then walk all over us about it. Understand that we've put in the effort here and support it, and here's the reasons why, right? I just feel like people join these meetings, they don't have no idea, and then they're bashing it. No, we're looking for the support, right? So I want more information about what we're trying to do out there, and have these people stop doing what they're doing because it's driving me up a wall.
So
Anyway.
Leave and See, just circling back on this idea of incorporating Amanda into these processes more, and also pulling it a little more tightly back to the Find Your Way in the website page, because there are a few threads of this conversation. I do feel like, in addition to sending more press releases, that sort of doing some of that update stuff, the rec website, but also that because the tie-ins are so strong.
Sure.
That is within the bailiwick of that position in a way that it isn't for Renee's. And she's been putting a ton of time, but there's really nothing about being the town clerk that says maintain the visitors website.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
That's something that she is doing because she has the energy and the will and makes the time for it. But in that admin role, Amanda, I think, would be perfect for it.
Right. Yeah, no, and I'll definitely, I think that she'd be excited to take it on if I bring it up to her tomorrow. Maybe you could talk with us tomorrow and also show us some of your previous press releases to the Villager, because I'm not familiar with the Villager. I'm not from Thompson. I'm not from
Yeah,
the,
and
the
it's just
northeast
it's
corner,
just
so I don't know.
yeah, it's just the local weekly. It's like
Yep.
any other community newspaper that you've ever
Okay.
seen. It's a part of Southbridge Press. They have a million different iterations, but they're all the same. They have probably one or two staffers, and then they rely on people like us to give them content.
Right.
Can I, one thing having to do with this, and maybe Amanda, I was looking at the website. I didn't see any photos or anything about Community Day. Is there something that I missed?
No, I don't know. I mean, maybe that is something that can be on there. I don't know. I think that the right now the website seems like it's just promoting upcoming events, and there's not really much attention given to events that have already been completed. So I don't know.
Yeah, I would say you're probably going to
to
see more stuff like that on the Facebook page than the website, which doesn't mean that there's no place for it on the website.
Yeah, it should be on the website too. That's a big mistake people make, is they promote the hell out of a project or an event, and then it falls off a cliff the day it's over. Nobody knows, oh, what a good time we had. There's no pictures, there's nothing until you start promoting next year.
Yeah,
Everybody
it's true
does
that
that, but it's not right.
it's true that an event isn't over when the curtain falls on the day. The event is over when the wrap up follows it as well, and that's what you're talking about.
Well, it helps promote next year when you say what a
Exactly.
good time we had this year. Hope you attend next year.
Yes, yes, and
and-
we could do a better job at that, which makes us not that different from a lot of places. But that's
Oh, no,
not an
absolutely not.
excuse. That's just what it is.
Yeah, people in general, people forget there's so much work going into events in general that it's one of these, wow, it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that we really have to keep in mind as part of promoting the town. What a good time we had. That's all.
Excellent observation, sir.
Yeah, and that was, yeah, if we're done with Sullivan and Lashane and websites, the website notes, that was one of my notes that I noticed we didn't have follow-up on Community Day, follow-up photos or anything, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna provide notes on the website. Just haven't gotten around to it. I said something to Renee the other night at the informational meeting for planning and zoning, but I have some specific stuff that I want to try to get together. I just need to find the time.
Okay. We don't really have an 11th Village update.
Well, not
Okay.
except for what you've already covered with the apprentice or the relationship with Mike Joyce and TBA. I had very similar conversations with Melinda and the principal of the high school. But I haven't had time to go back to that yet. And I'm probably not going to have time until that November timeframe at least. But I do believe that the road to success is going to flow through some of the high school connections. Interestingly enough, Dave Eddy did make a point of coming up to me at Trainwreck Park Dedication Day and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I haven't gotten that done for you. I still want to do it," all that stuff. There are still obviously some logistical problems given his work for the Mason House, but I think everybody who has wanted to be involved still wants to be involved. It's just at some point that's got to be the front of mind project again.
Right. Okay. You had a quick update on the NIPS program. That you're waiting for some material.
Yeah. So, and again, to Community Day. So I knew pretty much as soon as we started that day that particular fish was not going to be one of our permanent residents. But I had made some commitments to sculpting on site, so we just followed through. I have ordered, using some of the funds that we raised through crowdfunding 8 2x2x4 blocks of extruded polystyrene foam, which should hopefully be coming in the week I'm on vacation so that Chris and I can drive down to Hartford and pick them up. And I am going to hot knife carve them myself and then go back with Sarah and do the grouting and the cementing. One benefit of having an armature that didn't really work that day and having Chris working on it with me is it got him aggravated enough that he is now going to help with the armatures. So I have the original armature here. We may still find a way to use that one that the kids made. I'd like to if we can. But I know what the process should be. At some point, I'm going to go back to bleach rinsing and stripping labels off of nips. For the time being, I don't need any help with that. Once that becomes a thing I need help with again, you'll all be on the hook.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Lafredo, I see your note. If they come in when any other time than the week that we're on vacation, you are already on my list, Mr. Pickup Truck retiree. Because they can't send them on their regular trucks because no place that I would have them drop has a loading dock. And the cost to ship them common carrier is ridiculous. So the company's in Hartford that's ordering it in.
Okay. Yeah, the final item is if you had any updates on the solar project, Brian.
I do. So last Wednesday, we did have the Connecticut Green Banks, who is a quasi-state agency. The building committee invited them back to do the presentation in front of the entire building committee. Amy St. Ange was present as well. Ken Bosley is already well aware of what's going on with the solar project. Anyway, long story short, Connecticut Green Banks did their presentation again. It's received very positively, and everyone on the building committee is in support of it. I heard last night, I was late to the selectmen's meeting, that they're all in support of the solar project as well. But yet the building committee now needs to move on to the next steps of reviewing the location of the solar panels with inland wetlands, get advanced preliminary approval of the location, which is north of the school track, just so people know. It's a very wooded, very rocky area. It's in wetlands, at least a portion of it is. And also speak with the building department to get advanced approval from them or informal approval from them as well. And then move on to the next step, which is get approval from the Board of Education. Once we have that, I think we'll be in good shape. The solar panels will be on town property, which is good. And though it's on town property, the Board of Education pays the electric bills, so we need to get approval from them. But it's gaining a lot of momentum, which is very, very good news. It's been long overdue, if you ask me. So that's my update. And for those of you that want to have more information, I'm happy to email you the presentations that have been done in the past, including my own that I did.
Ryan, you really deserve some major pats on the back for not giving up on that with that, because if it hadn't been for you driving that bus, I think the people who are generally inclined to say no without considering would still be in control of that idea.
I appreciate that, Tara, and I completely agree, because I've been dragged through the mud on this one, as you know. So we're getting there.
Hey, Brian, you're a builder, so you've probably been through this idea. Just wondering why we're not using the roof of the building for the panels rather than using ground space.
Sure, that's an excellent question, Brian. As a builder, I always tell my clients who I've put in many megawatts of solar panels that utilize ground space before you use roof space. And in particular, the perception of added weight and snow loads and things like that in town, and general maintenance for roofs, and the inability to access, or the fire department to get up on the roof and access certain locations becomes challenging. So if you have the space, put it on the damn ground. So that's what I tell my clients.
Well, I know Walmart has made quite a big thing out of using their roofs to generate electricity and sell it back into the grid. So
Absolutely.
seems like that, rather than take up ground space that could be potentially used for other things. But obviously with the school, there's other issues. The big thing is that we were repairing the roof now, so you couldn't do it on a bad roof. But on a good roof, it might have been more of an option now. But again, I'm sure you looked at those possibilities.
Yeah, my report that I did 3 years ago, Brian, I gave all the options. I did the roof. I did several locations of the fields. I actually put in canopies above the parking lots. We looked at the library. We looked at the waste treatment plant roof. We looked at the recycling area. I mean, I could keep going and going here, right? So, and I just don't want anyone, I don't mind being challenged. Just if you want to challenge, right? And this particular guy that called, I gave him all the information, right? Like this has been researched to death, so let's move on here. Anyway. Yep.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any more comments from commission members?
Yeah, I think it's worth putting on here, maybe as a, another new item under progress reports. I wanted to say that the track up at the school, the building committee again, with me driving the process, I did a complete report of the track, gave people my opinion of what needs to happen there. The building committee allowed me to have an on-site meeting with Ty and Bond to review the structural integrity of the soils below the track. And that has been all approved. And I want to let people know that we're getting the full report from Ty and Bond at the end of October. They did do their borings, and we will have a geotechnical report by the end of October, which is very positive. And the select men have also approved funding source for continuing the design and construction documents in order to have a shovel-ready project when funding becomes available, which I'm hoping comes sooner rather than later, for that track to be 100% replaced. One of the things that we're doing up there is making sure that the subsurface drainage, water drainage systems are intact and working, because I do not want to have egg on my face to put a brand new track up there and then the sub water systems do not work. So we're doing a full investigation of that, and that report will be also done by the end of October. So we're making very good progress on the track up there, and hopefully that comes to fruition as well. We'll see.
Well,
All right,
that's
so
the,
I'll
just, will
put
that be
you on
just-
the agenda for November, because you're getting a report at the end of October. You can give us an
Yep.
update.
100% yes.
Okay.
Brian, is that just the track, or are we looking at the tennis courts as well?
So right now I've limited to the track, but Brian, just be aware that the tennis courts are in the back of my mind. So we'll evaluate those at that time. Yeah.
So just to dovetail onto that a little bit, because the topic of the track, as you know, came up during the ARPA discussion, and that was another piece that the Board of Selectmen voted to put some of the ARPA funds aside for the design stuff, not for the construction part.
Yeah.
Monday of this week, that big state level grant that I was pushing so hard in my synopsis for, at the option to go to try to leverage the funds further, that was announced. So I now have the guidelines. I know the deadlines. So with any luck, I think there is a strong possibility that all of that money that the town voted to do what I've been calling the tier 1 project, in other words, the infrastructure projects that didn't really have any economic development potential on their own, with the possible exception of the sewer plant. That if I am able to write a good proposal, I can extend those funds to enable to get us to the placemaking, right? The economic development and community development pieces that just kind of kept falling by the wayside. The 65 Main, of course, is our pet project here. I'm trying to think back to my own proposal. Some of the direct assistance for homeowners to refurb their housing, the condition of their housing, to dress up the corridor. I've also been approached by Thompson Congregational Church to see if there is a way to feather in the adaptive reuse project that they are discussing for the burnt out church. I think that it is possible to make that work. But anyway, the point, again, I always use too many words to make my point, is that I should be submitting by mid-January the application that will enable us to pursue some of these things that we've wanted to do. And I am of the opinion, but it's just my own opinion, that given the way they have described this grant program, they're probably going to give $1 million to everybody who applies, right? So even though it's a 1-to-1 match and I'm asking for like 2.5 or whatever, I think they're going to give $1 million to every community who sends in a
Awesome.
request because of the kind of funding that they have. But like I say, that's my opinion. It could be a more competitive process in the end than I'm expecting. I'm just, reading between the lines on the NOFO.
Yep, that's great.
And tomorrow, I am submitting with Wayne Bugden. I have to be the one who submits it because the municipality has to be the lead, to DECD, the Department of Economic and Community Development, a brownfield cleanup grant for the River Mill property, which, if awarded, would be a pass-through to that developer to do the environmental cleanups. Wayne and I have been working on it all week, and we're just about ready to shoot that off. And that's another one. Like every grant we've been talking about today, the state knows that it's coming, and the particular economic situation that everybody is in right now because of ARPA and COVID response and relief ideas. State and federal departments are throwing money in the air with both hands, and what you have to do is figure out how to catch it. And I think we're going to catch quite a bit on. That's a $2 million grant for the environmental cleanup. And if they don't give it to us, I don't know what we've been talking to DECD about for the last 6 months. I mean, we've been talking with them about it. So
That's great. Awesome. Just one added item, actually for Heather's notes, under the solar project, it's inland wetlands, the building department, and I forgot my own commission, the planning and zoning has to look at that too for the solar project. So just wanted to add planning and zoning to that note.
Okay, it's not on the agenda, but I just wanted to give a quick update with Turkey Trot since this is the last EDC meeting before then. First, I thank you to Mr. Santos and WT Rich and Thompson Business Association, who doubled their contributions this year. And that was a big part of making up for our loss of the Thompson Speedway, who couldn't support us this year. So nevertheless, we lost that $1,500, and we've made up for that with a team effort. Tara's helped out. Brian Levency and Amanda have come up with a couple new sponsors. And right now we're looking at $10,275 in sponsorships compared to $8,750 in 2019, in spite of losing the Speedway. So I'm hoping we're going to be looking at maybe 12 to 13,000 next year if things go well. We have about 33 people signed up to participate on RaceWire. Brian has another, I forgot the numbers you gave me, Brian, but total.
We got
about
another 13 off of Racewire.
Okay, so we're close to 50 signups, and we all know people sign up at the last minute, especially.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there, Bri, too. I'll bring my family there that day. We're gonna-
Awesome. Yeah, I think we're gonna have a big turnout because a lot of people, again, it's being a November race. A lot of people do wait for the last minute. We're doing a lot of publicity stuff. Tackle the Trail got our notes in all their bags when I was up there helping them. Brian has several things in the works that he was telling me about today to publicize it. I'm fingers crossed we had a weaker turnout in 2019. I'm hoping we go back to at least the numbers we had in 2018, which will also help the bottom line and our contributions to the groups that the money goes to. So it's going well. Brian has really been a great partner and has really taken hold of the things that he's learning and making it happen. We will be on Winnie October 26th, right, Brian?
Yep, that's right, 26th.
And I noticed you've probably seen emails. I think it was in the shopper's guide as well, promoting the race. So it's shaping up really well.
That's great, Bri. Congratulations. Awesome.
That's great.
Oh, one more thing, trails.
You guys are cutting into baby time here.
Oh, stop. I get some minutes. I don't know if all of you are on I don't think you're all on the list, but I was catching up on my town emails today, and it looks like we're getting some cooperation from the state. At the last trails meeting, I suggested, and the committee followed through, and Karen wrote a letter to the state regarding maintenance of the trail. What are the standards? What are we going to have to do? And specifically, what help can we get from erosion from state roads? Because our biggest erosion is occurring under 395, 200, and 193. And the conversation right now looks like it's, I'm not going to say it's positive, but they are taking an active interest and might want to come out and look at the site, which I just volunteered today to be the contact person for that, since I'm in the middle of all the bridge problems where I live and usually have the time. So I'm hoping we get a little more support with the maintenance of the airline trail from the state.
I think that guy, Scott Bushy, who was the person from CT Dot who replied, is all in on this idea. He is a huge advocate for trails, not just as recreation, but as actual transit. That is a part of his mission. So I don't know how many threads I was copied on versus that others were copied on, but he is working that on his end. He wants to see the airline trail, the master project, succeed. He did a call with the Trainwreck Park Planning Group months and months ago to talk about stuff with the parking areas and options and how CONDOT liked to see the connection to local roadways and stuff. So he's a good ally. That'll be a great meeting if you can pull off that site visit.
I'm all set. Yes, you know.
Anybody else? Yeah, in between now, next meeting's November 17th. If you have stuff to, suggest for the agenda, send them to me in the meantime. And at this point, I'd like to
Make a motion to adjourn.
at 8:01. Yeah,
I'll second Charlie's. I'll
We
second
just
Charlie.
adjourned. You don't have to. We're done.
We're done.
Good night.
We don't motion and
Drive safe.
adjourn to,